Pie charts are a fantastic tool for analyzing data by visually breaking down different segments of a larger dataset in an aesthetically pleasing and easy-to-understand manner. There are many JavaScript libraries available for representing graphical data on a web page. However, if you aren't looking for fancy interactions and just want to visualize data with a simple chart, you are in the right place. Today, we will dive into a CSS-only solution for creating pie charts. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest tutorials. Let's jump right in. As you might already know, we begin with our straightforward HTML boilerplate. After adding the page title, we use the figure HTML tag with an attached CSS class. The figure element typically contains images, illustrations, diagrams, or code snippets, and can include a caption using the figcaption element. The figure, caption, and its contents are all treated as a single unit. If for any reason you can't use the figure element, you can add role and ARIA attributes to identify a figure within the page content. For example, we could use a div with the role attribute set to figure and then utilize ARIA labeled by to point to its caption. In this case, we will use the appropriate semantic HTML elements to mark up the figure. Inside it, we will have a child element to represent the chart, and later on, we will add the caption. The CSS file is also set up and ready to roll with some basic styles. Now let's start working on today's topic. First, we will style the figure element, which has its own CSS class. Here, we are using flexbox properties to align its child elements while maintaining a gap of 2 rem. Next, we add the max width property to the child so that it doesn't expand beyond a specified width. Setting the aspect ratio to 1 will make it a square. Let's add a border to visualize it. There are multiple ways to create a pie chart in CSS. The easiest method is by utilizing conic gradients. Before diving deeper, let's understand how conic gradients work in CSS. A conic gradient is like a color wheel in a circle, smoothly shifting colors from one point to another around a center point. To create a conic gradient, we must define at least 2 colors. This creates a cone-like shape, showing how colors change from one to another. Now let's add their starting and ending positions. The initial color starts at 0% and ends at the 40% mark. Right from that point, the next color takes over, running from 40% to 100%. This setup creates a clear break between 2 colors, resulting in a distinct transition. Adding 2 more colors with their specific positions divides the area into 4 segments, each displaying a unique color. This CSS rule can be simplified by omitting the starting point for the first color and the ending point for the last color. We can further simplify it by replacing the starting points of the second, third, and fourth segments with a 0. Even with this streamlined version of color stops, the outcome remains the same. Then the final step is to add a border radius to make it a circle and remove the border property. Now is the time for another trick. Conic gradients naturally start from the 0-degree angle, which means the first color starts from the 12 o'clock position. We can modify this default behavior by defining a custom starting position. In this case, we are telling it to begin at the 30-degree angle. Check this out. A tiny tweak in the starting position can shift the color segments, resulting in a completely different pattern. Since we will reuse these color values at different points in our style sheet, let's store them in CSS variables. These will serve as pointers to color codes, enhancing overall maintainability and avoiding any unintentional mix-ups. Then, we can use the var function to call them wherever needed. We have a dedicated video explaining how custom properties can supercharge your CSS workflow. Feel free to check that out. Let's step up our game and make a donut chart using the same technique. First, we duplicate the child element and add another CSS class for the donut. Returning to the style sheet, we can begin with the same conic gradient. Let's remove the border radius and bring the border back for the time being. Moving further, just like we add multiple background images to an element, we can add layers of gradients in a single rule. For example, we are adding a radial gradient on top of the conical, separating them with a comma. A radial gradient creates an image by transitioning between colors that radiate from the center point. In our example, the first color starts from the middle and spreads through 40% of the area, followed by the second color. What if we replace the first and last colors with white, matching the page background, and then make the second color transparent? Now the conic gradient becomes visible through the transparent portion of the radial gradient. As before, we can simplify the color stops for the radial gradient, saving some bits and making it more manageable. Now, we can reset the border radius to its initial setup. Finally, we can shift our focus to the caption. We will use the figcaption element to add descriptive content for the chart. This will help in improving accessibility, especially for screen readers. We are using span elements to add legends describing their graphical representation within the chart. Then, in the CSS, the legends class is defined as a flex container with additional presentational styles. Next, we use the before pseudo element to add a color tab on the left side of each legend. Finally, the nth child pseudo class works its magic to assign relevant colors, utilizing the same CSS variables we set earlier. If you are interested in learning more about CSS gradients, be sure to check out our detailed video on creating stylish CSS patterns. To summarize, CSS gradients offer a straightforward method to create pie and donut charts directly within HTML and CSS. Using conic and radial gradients, we can define color transitions that mimic the segments of these charts effortlessly. If you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting content. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.